Hi guys, so I'm out again today with a sick baby, so I'm not very excited about this. However, I'm going to go ahead and do a podcast for the next two macromolecules. The first one we're going to learn is proteins. As we go through, listen to these and fill in your notes, and we'll do the coloring sheet last, and then of course the cutouts. So yesterday we learned about DNA. DNA is inside of the nucleus that you get from your parents, and DNA's job is to tell the cell what proteins to make. So we're going to look at proteins today and what they are. They are a macromolecule, and their function is to add body structure and speed up chemical reactions. There are two different types and classification of proteins. One is the body structure, and it makes everything in your body is made up of proteins. Your muscles, your skin, everything is a protein. Anything, chemical reactions that take place, how you digest your things, those are all proteins. A second grouping is known as enzymes, and these speed up chemical reactions, and we will spend a lot of time on those the next couple days. All proteins are produced in the body, and they are determined by your DNA. So if there is something wrong with your DNA, potentially you could not produce the right protein, or maybe overproduce the protein. As a review, two types, structural protein and enzymatic proteins. Enzymes are also called catalysts. So let's look. These are pictures of different structural proteins that are in your body. You have microfilaments, microtubules, and intermediate filaments. These right here turn into muscle. That's my cat, sorry. These right here turn into bone, and these can turn into different types of muscles. So the smaller group that makes up the proteins are called amino acids. Amino acids are the monomers or the building blocks of proteins. We'll just go ahead and fill in the notes, and then I'll switch over to the coloring sheet later. Amino acids are held together by peptide bonds. So oftentimes proteins are referred to what are called polyproteins. Polypeptides, because polypeptides are held together by peptide bonds. Easy way to remember it. Polypeptide, peptide bonds, proteins. If you have two amino acids, they're called a dipeptide. Pretty easy there. And then right here, here's what I was saying before, the polypeptide, aka protein. You do need to know the term polypeptide and protein. They can be used interchangeably. So proteins are made up of amino acids that are held together by peptide bonds. Your body has 20 amino acids, and the different combination of these amino acids gives you your structure. So let's look at some examples of structural proteins. Anything that helps build the organism and provide strength is a protein. The hair, finger, nails, muscles, skin, eyes, everything is a type of protein. The shape of the protein will determine its function. Now, DNA determines the shape determines the function. So really DNA determines its function too. You see on the back of your paper you have all different types of shapes. They start off as a flat ribbon, and they can fold into different complex, tertiary, quaternary type structures. They're actually very pretty when you look at them. They look like globs of ribbon that can be different colored if they're dyed that way. Then we look at enzymes. Enzymes are also known as catalysts, and they speed up chemical reactions by breaking down molecules or putting them back together. Both of the classes asked me about lactose intolerance. So lactose intolerance is when your body cannot break down milk sugar because you are missing the enzyme lactase to break them down. Enzymes are easy to recognize because they always end in ASE. So for example, lactase breaks down lactose. Now, the OSE just tells us it's a type of sugar or carb. Lactase tells us it's the type of enzyme. Peroxidase is an enzyme that your body makes that breaks down hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide can build up in your body, and it can be toxic. So our body has enzymes known as peroxidase to help break them down. Another example, maltase breaks down maltose. This is a great picture of how an enzyme works. You have an enzyme down here in blue. It bonds to what we call a substrate. They bond together. This enzyme breaks this chemical bond that's holding this guy together into two parts. So B, C, and D would be like lactase. A would be lactose. Examples of protein in your body. You need to know these. The first one is hemoglobin. Anytime you see the HEMO, you should think of blood, and that's exactly what this is. Hemoglobin is found on the blood, and it's used to transport oxygen around the body. Another type of protein are hormones. An example here is insulin. So we use proteins in the body like hormones for cell communication. So cells will send out chemical signals to each other to communicate. We have antibodies, which obviously my little Charlie's trying to grow right now. Antibodies are part of your immune system, and their job is immunity, to fight off invaders. And then pigments. Pigments are found in your skin, your hair, and in your eyes. And their job is to absorb light or reflect light, depending upon which one we're talking about. The chemical indicator we use for protein is called Buret's, and it starts off nice and blue, and it turns a violet color to almost black if it comes in contact with the protein. We will be doing that test tomorrow. So just to confuse you, Buret's is blue, just like Benedict's was. Benedict's tested glucose. Buret's tests proteins. So there's check yourself. What determines the function of a protein? The code that DNA has. Now I do want to show you Okay, so I tried to get the picture on the recording, but I'll be honest, guys, I'm too tired to figure it out. So let's flip your paper over. I want you to have a purple pencil and a red colored pencil out. You can hit pause on the screen substitute to help them get prepared for this. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at the top left of your worksheet, and you will see that you have 2A brackets. I would take those brackets and in red pencil make a square above the brackets. So what you would end up having is two squares on the top left that are underlined with A. You would shade those in. Those A's represent amino acids. So just do two squares above the brackets. So like where the A is, that bracket would be the bottom of the square, and then you would draw 3 lines. Color those. That is what the chemical structure of the amino acids look like. Then you see below that, you might want to pause here also to let them color in those squares. You see below that you have a picture of what is known as a primary structure. The primary structure has those rectangles, the amino acids that have those different letters in it. Like one is val, that's a type of amino acid known as valine. So you would color those rectangles red. And then in between those rectangles, the lines that are holding those together is the peptide bonds. Those would be purple. So you have 2 arrows that are letter D that are pointing to those bonds. So your primary structure would look like a train, kind of, that has red rectangles with purple bonds in between it. That is a very simple protein structure. As you build your proteins and add more amino acids from there, you will see that the structures turn into secondary, quaternary, and more complex structures. They make larger proteins, but these proteins don't necessarily mean that they're better or have a stronger job than the simple proteins. It just means their structure is different. So I will check to see that you color these tomorrow. You should have 2. A are the amino acids, and they are red. P is the peptide bonds that are in between. You're just doing the squares on the top left and the primary structure. We will learn lipids next. Okay, bye.